So in this video we're going to talk about 4 exercises that everyone can do with any sort of fitness level. You can use your body weight all the way up to using weights, and this is designed for at home, but you can then transfer that if you're a gym goer or wish to use the gym or some sort of studio. You can then transfer it into a more gym-like environment and it works perfectly fine the exact same way, and I'll discuss some ways you can modify it to then take it to the next step as well. So let's get on with the 4 exercises that will work your whole body and also is for everyone. First we have knee lifts. Now as you can see, I'm going to use the picture in the side because I don't have a studio, and with my disability it's a bit hard for me to actually show perfect technique because I do find it hard to fight gravity with my disability. So this actually shows a better description of what to do because obviously the picture can do it perfectly. Now the knee lifts, it is for your quads and hamstrings, but it will bring in your hip flexors, your hip girdle. It can bring in your upper calves depending on how you do it, but it is primarily for your main leg muscles. I have a count down there, as you can see, 2 on the way up, pause, 2 on the way down, and then pause again, but generally it's a controlled motion. So if you go down 2 and then go back up, you're more than likely going to have that slight pause anyway, but very important to pause at the top. I have the benefits, which is endurance, mobility and circulation. So in this case we're doing a chair, so either less mobile or office working or anything like that. The circulation, obviously sitting down on your legs all day is an issue, so this will improve that as well. As you can see, the next process, at least 30 degrees, that's when the gravity starts taking over and the hamstrings start kicking in to fight that gravity. You can go slightly higher depending on your mobility skills. You can use your arms to stabilize yourself on your chair. As best you can do it without using your arms or the rest of your body to actually help you do it the best, but if you have to, obviously do it because safety does come first. Now the 30 degrees, you'll feel it even if you just do it just as you listen and watch this video. If you raise even just your leg up, you'll reach that point around 30 degrees where gravity starts taking over, and depending on if you can feel the muscles, some people feel it easier than others, but it transfers from your quadricep to your hamstring, and then we're now working our hamstrings, and that's when we pause for that 1 second. And as the little notes I've got, gravity kicks in, engages the hamstring muscles, and this also helps the hip flexors in your seated, standing sort of position. It helps the mobility of it, so you can actually stand up, you can sit down, you can bend over, kneel. All that improves the mobility of that, because if they get tight then that becomes an issue, as well as hip girdle, which increases your ability to walk and strengthens the stability and your stride, which I have an issue with that particular part of my muscle set in my hips, which means I walk slower than a older person with a walking stick. So that's why we're doing it like this, because I do have an issue with moving my limbs in a controlled fashion when gravity is involved. So then we come back down, slow and steady. This is no race, this is controlled, and you'll feel the difference from going fast and uncontrolled to slow, steady. And obviously increases safety, but it increases the benefit you get from it, because the time under tension, even though you don't even have to use weight, you can add ankle weights. You can then In a modified version, say you want to modify it, you then could go to the gym, and if you're able, you could sit on a higher elevated position where your legs have the ability to then hold a weight, either by a chain system where it ties to a belt, and then you tie the belt to your legs, and then you lift the weight up and down. Primarily, people do that for dips. So if you're seeing people dipping with a weight belt on plus the weight, that's the same principle. It just adds that extra bit of difficulty. But this is very effective even with just ankle weights, or you can even just go for this weight on your knees if you can handle that. Obviously, if you are worried about the pressure or any injury, you can add a yoga mat or stretching mat or anything like that to add that sort of buffer between the weight and you, just in case skin or anything like that you're worried about. But adding weight is going to increase the difficulty, so do it in a controlled fashion as well. But you can do this at your desk, at the couch, while you're a passenger on a bus, train, whatever. Don't do it if you're the driver of a vehicle, obviously. But there's many different areas and positions and ways you can actually do this, and it won't take any time out of your day. The next one we're going to do is leg lifts. Now this you can do many different ways. The way we're going to do is a very deliberate way, which will increase the endurance strength of your quadriceps and stability and control of your hamstrings. Now it does increase your ability to have posture because of the posture you keep whilst lifting your legs. You then engage other muscles except for your quadriceps and hamstrings. You engage your core and your inner core, which then gives that flat stomach look. If you tighten the intercostals and all that, you'll get the flatter stomach, because the tighter that is, the easier it is for you to have a better posture and a better physique, just naturally by having the muscles tightened in a natural way, not necessarily they're tight because I worked them out. They naturally get a tighter look, and that allows you to have a more upright posture, and obviously that increases your ability not to actually get back aches and all that, because you aren't slouched or doing things in a poor posture fashion. This count is actually 4 up, 1 pause, and 2 down. So we're going up twice as slow as the knee lift, and then pausing, and then down for 2. The very important part is the actual up, because that is when we're engaging all those muscles. The core muscles come into it, and the ability to stabilize your core comes with control of doing this. This can be hard to go up to that gravity point without actually stability if you aren't used to it. So you can obviously, like the last one, use your arms to stabilize yourself, but being able to control your core and lifting your legs up is where this comes into increasing your ability to have posture and a better natural physique because of a good posture. As you can see, we hit the 30 degrees. You can go up to like a 45 degrees, but that 30 degrees, gravity kicks in like the last one, and we start engaging the hamstrings, but it's the quadriceps that we're mainly working on. But this, as you go up, you'll feel the core muscles kick in, and the abductors, adductors, and the whole stabilizing and efficiency of your posture kicking in as we're going up. And then obviously, as it says, the longer the count, the increase in muscle engagement. Now, similar to the last one, you can use ankle weights. This one's a little harder just to strap a weight to and lift up, but depending on your ability, you can sit there with a dumbbell between your feet and hold the dumbbell with your feet, moving up, moving down. It all depends on your ability to control that and whether you have the ability to actually have that equipment. But you can easily just get, if you've got, say, a heat bag, like a rice bag, you then put that on both your feet and you control the ascent. That way the bag stays still, but then you're controlling it more and you're focusing your mind on controlling it. So then once it's up, you're controlling it down, and you're actually concentrating on the rice bags, which helps you actually increase the efficiency of the exercise. And then the more you can do it without holding or stabilizing yourself with your arms, but obviously it is all about safety, so do that if you need to, but do work on tightening that core even if you are holding the, say, an armchair or whatever for stability. In a gym sense, if you want to transfer it into a gym sense, this you can do on a dip machine, and then you can, if you can't hold yourself up on a dip machine, you can do it on a just like a plyometric box, and do it similar to this, and then build into having the ability to do it on dip. But if you can do it on a dip, you can do it having the added core engagement of being on the dip, sitting there in a seated position, 90-degree elbows, and then you're lifting your legs up to that 30 degrees. And if you can, lifting them all the way up from a hanging position all the way up to the 90 degrees and back down in a controlled fashion. That would be the next progression, but always keeping your back straight and controlling it, not swinging like you're a gymnast. You're controlling the ascent and the descent. And then slow and steady, and as I said, control increases safety. Now this arm circuit is a two-part arm circuit which engages the entire upper body. The count is 1 up, pause, 1 down, is in controlled fashion. So as we go through, you'll see there's points where you got to actually go from one stage to the next in a controlled fashion. That can be your pause, and then the one is a full 1 second, not one. It's a controlled 1 pause, 1 pause. So keep that in mind. And the benefits of this is actually increasing the rotator cuff section flexibility and your overall arm mobility, because even when you go to the gym and you'll see the people doing all the heavy weights and stuff, the tightness of the muscles and the mobility effect, it actually decreases their ability to move their shoulders and stuff, and they can't reach around and touch their back, and that one arm can't reach over and touch the other shoulder and things like that. So this increases the ability to move it, because we are moving our arms in a broader sense than just isolating up, down, which then can, depending on how you actually do that, can reduce your mobility because of how you're actually doing it. Now we have a look at it. You control the movement. That I'm going to keep saying that because it's very important that you control the movement, but you can do a wider angle than 90 degrees. We are doing a shoulder press type motion, and if you don't know that, you're similar to picture, you're at 90 degrees and you go up with both hands and you come back down, and the next picture will show you, but you can do it slightly wider. I wouldn't do wider with weight, just because it increases the risk of injury unless you know what you're doing or you have someone that's helping you. If you're adding weight into it, always be aware that what could happen is the weight then takes over at the pinnacle point, and then that's when injuries happen, when you can't actually either bring the weight back in, back down, or the weight comes onto you. So body weight or light wrist weights or light dumbbells, you can do a wider position away from you in more of a Y shape than a straight up and down, just in case you have shoulder problems or you already have slight mobility issues for whatever reason. You can do it slightly wider, so you can do this exercise. As you can see, the arms go up. I have elbow near ear. It all depends on obviously how your arm is created and muscle mass and any sort of displacements of your shoulder or anything like that. But it's a general guide. The posture is important, sitting up straight, pretty much elegant, sort of. If you have that picture of elegance, it's always good back posture, sitting up straight, sort of like chin up sort of posture, and that will get you in a good posture, even just thinking about that. And then you keep that and control the core. It's very important, and you will be able to reduce the risk. Obviously, I won't say it's going to eliminate risk, because risk is in virtually everything in the world, but it will reduce the risk. Slower is better for just general. Slower is better than fast. But if you have issues with your rotator cuff or your elbows or wrists or arthritis or anything like that, then go slower and find that pace that you need. And obviously, if you add weight, go slower. Even if you go from no weight to lightweight, make sure you go as slow as you have to, not as fast as you can, because more time under tension is better for increasing the endurance of the muscle. It helps building the ability to do this exercise in a controlled fashion, so you can progress easier and more consistently, and you won't just all of a sudden hit a brick wall, or you go too fast and you injure yourself due to going fast and not actually being able to control that weight. Now, this is the second motion of the exercise. We have come down. So this is why I said there's certain pause parts where it's a natural pause, because you got to bring it down from a touchdown sort of position to now your hands are on your chest, depending on your ability to move. We are elbows at 90 degrees if you can. The motion is as if you're going to stretch a rubber band. So that's the sort of mindset. And okay, I'm going to slow it down as if I'm stretching a rubber band. And you pause at your chest before you start, and then we go to the next one. Keeping the elbows at 90 degrees, we go out as if you're stretching the rubber band, and then you're holding it out. So we are also trying to engage those muscles as if we're stretching that rubber band. Or if we got weights, then we're obviously controlling that weight out. And then we pause at the extension. And obviously this is where we don't use too heavier weights, because the actual weight is at a wide enough pivot point where if it gets a bit funny, we can't injure ourselves, because our elbow is going to be the one that suffers that, or we could hurt our wrist by trying to hold a too heavy a weight. Our shoulder could get a bit sore, pull a muscle because it's too heavy, and we're trying to use all our shoulder and our trapeze, rhomboids, all that, neck. We could injure ourselves by just being unsafe and using too heavy a weight. This, you can use cable machines, resistance bands, which would help with the rubber band feel. You can use barbells, you can use body weight, you can use milk bottles filled with water. This is a very good exercise that you can do with anything, as long as you can hold it or stretch it. Now the finishing the exercise is coming back, and then it's as if we're returning the shape of the rubber band, and then we pause out of chest, because we're going to then transition back into the shoulder press, elbows at 90 degrees if possible, and then we're going back into the up down motion, back to the chest and out. In a controlled fashion, this will be able to work the overall upper body. Then also going out, you'll then increase your engagement of your obliques. And then going up, it depends on if you're doing weights. If you have enough weight that you can feel it, if you want to add weight, obviously body weight is fine. But if you add weight and you sort of get to that point where it's a turning into a strength sort of exercise instead of endurance, controlling it and lifting it up, that's when the importance of staying at 90 degrees and going straight up, elbow, knee, ear, because if you go too far forward, you'll not only disengage some of your muscles and work on more front or back, depending on where the posture is or the arm placement, you'll then increase the risk of injury by either doing it too heavy and not being able to control it, or you're not staying square. So then it comes forward and then you're starting to pull on all your extra tendons and joints, and it's very easy to get injured when you are moving a joint or you are relying on a movement where you have a pivot point such as an elbow involved under tension at distance away from the body. So this is why we do it only as heavy as we need to, because it does not matter how heavy the weight is. If we cannot control it, then it's not doing any benefit to us. Now, we come on to ab twist. This was one that we can do two ways, depending on your ability to move, depending on how you feel about the actual exercise. Now, as you can see, we have hands on heads. I find that's the best way to get the mindset right in how we're going to do it, but you can obviously do it how you wish. You can put your hands across your chest if you want to, or anything like that, but I find putting the hands on the heads around the temple point, it gets the arms out of the way whilst then getting the body in a good position to actually do this. It obviously does the abs and obliques. It can work on the endurance of the arms if you're having them up. Add wrist weights onto your wrists, and then you then start working your arms as well, but that's just an extra little thing you can add. Obviously core strength and posture control, because we are controlling our posture while we're doing this, and then working our muscles, which then the intercostals and all that kick in as well. Now, as you can see, the picture didn't move because it's a movement that is hard to depict by this without an actual visual. So I'll try and do my best. We are hands on temple or wherever I find it easier, and we are turning to either 30 degrees or further. Obviously don't turn until it hurts type thing. Turn until you start feeling like your mobility is starting to stop, and then turn back to straight ahead, and then go at least 30 degrees the other way. Don't go, oh, I can go 45 here but only 30 there. Do identical both sides, and then pause at the 30 degrees each way, and then at the middle, and then you're keeping your torso straight up and just turning. And obviously we can do this anywhere. And then this is an exercise where we can then add in some weight by turning into a Russian twist. If you don't know what that is, it is where we are on the ground in a ideally legs up slightly off the ground, probably 2 fists high. It doesn't really, unless you got little tiny hands, I don't think it would even really matter at that, because it's just enough that gravity takes over. So even if it's 10 centimeters, 20 to 30 centimeters ideally once you get to that point, but even if it's just 10 centimeters, it's enough to keep your legs off the ground, and gravity is starting to feel it. You then are laying back in a sort of spoon shape, and then your upper body is in a 45-degree angle, and you can either hold a slam ball, medicine ball, or a weight or a dumbbell if you wish to, or you can just do a body weight. You then turn side to side, similar motion, except for you are using the weight and you're putting the weight beside you in a controlled fashion. But that's how you can move it on. This one we'll talk about. So we're doing that. You can also, from here, go sideways as well, which then obviously focuses more on the obliques, but if you're in intercostals of your abs, tightens them in, and then helps you with posture. And if you're getting a sore back, then try and slow it down and think about, is your posture good? Obviously you might be getting a sore back because you have mobility issues or anything. That's fine. Just do as safe as possible. If you don't feel like it's something that you can do without your back hurting, you can just do a simple exercise where you breathe in and bring in your stomach and tense your abdominals and your obliques, and then you breathe out whilst holding that position, and breathe out and then hold it as long as you can. Try to hold it for 15 to 30 seconds, and then release your abdominals and relax, and do that instead of this exercise for 3-4 times. Break in between if you need it, but then that won't give your back a issue like this if it gives you an issue, because some people find moving their torso obviously bad because they have either injury or mobility issues. So that is an alternate way you can do this, which then increases the same muscles, and you'll know about the exercise when you do it, because you are holding the muscles in the best way, and then you are going to keep doing that and you'll feel the difference. So that is the 4 exercises that everyone can do, from body weight all the way up to weights. You can then modify this. There are way more ways I could modify these into different ways that you can do it. I've done PT and circuit type stuff where I've taken a lot of basic workout sort of poses and everything, combine it into a big circuit or Tabata or anything like that. So there's plenty of ways you can actually incorporate this into many different workouts, but this keeps it simple, nice and easy to follow, in my opinion. And you can do it from an office desk, you can do it on a train or on a bus or a computer if you're a at-home worker, or in the office if you work in an office, and then on a lunch break, whatever. After work, quick little workout that you can do, minimal effort, minimal actual requirements, and you can do it in a controlled fashion and feel it working if you follow it and do it in a safe, controlled manner. And then obviously any sort of extra dietary stuff I'll leave to you to obviously add to, because that's a more person to person sort of thing, depending on your requirements and your needs. But hopefully that was helpful, and hopefully that increases your mobility, strength, endurance, and your circulation. But thank you and goodbye.